Well, welcome everyone. This is Josh of Severe Weather. I'm a meteorologist in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. Appreciate you joining me on this Monday. We're going to get right to it here. We still have some severe weather ongoing across the southeast and even the mid-Atlantic and portions of the northeast through tonight. But another nasty storm system is going to follow the one we just had to deal with and hit the exact same areas with the potential for major severe weather, including some strong tornadoes as we head into Wednesday in the central United States. And that area continues to be under the gun as we get to the second portion of this week and even on into the weekend with multiple days of severe weather. So I'm going to share my screen and walk you through everything, but I do appreciate it if you haven't yet to become a subscriber here. And we're going to have videos coming out more frequently here this week than I've done in the past. So first, I want to share with you how the forecast yesterday did from the Storm Prediction Center. And I would say overall, it was a really good forecast. We kind of got off the hook here, let off the hook in parts of Arkansas, but a lot of hail fell across parts of Texas and Louisiana, all the way up into the mid-South. We did have tornadoes reported across the central portion of the country and a ton of wind damage. In fact, I was reading that there were some fatalities, unfortunately, near Battle Creek, Michigan, here, as wind speeds were clocked at over 80 miles per hour as this line of storms moved through. So while it was not a massive tornado outbreak, it still was a very damaging one as far as the wind damage and the hail goes. And today, that threat for severe weather has shifted off to the south and east. Now, I do want to share with you the current satellite image, and you can see our storm system is on the move eastward here, and most of our severe weather now is across the southeast. We are going to see additional heating today, leading to severe weather farther up to the north. But this system, the worst is past, and unfortunately, the next one could be worse. And I do want to share in just a moment how so. Here's a look at temperatures this afternoon across the country, and you can see it is very warm out ahead of our storm system, 80s across the mid-Atlantic region, near 70 in Albany. Still on the cool side, though, across New England and Long Island. We are going to see temperatures actually warming up tonight versus today as that warm front does lift northward. But you can see here that it remains very warm down south, and we're going to see this warm air in Texas again get pulled northward from the Gulf. We are going to see cold air coming in at the same time to the north of this system with another winter weather episode as we begin the month of April across the north central states. Here's a look at our current radar. And you can see right now it doesn't look super threatening across the northeast. That could change, though, as we head into this evening. But the majority of our rough weather is actually across South Carolina, Georgia, and the far northern portion of Florida here. In fact, we do have severe thunderstorm watches in effect for this area, bearing down on the Midlands of South Carolina, maybe even getting close to Charlotte and Rock Hill in the Carolinas here this afternoon. Augusta has already gotten the severe weather. It looks to be aimed now farther east into the low country and coastal empire of Georgia and across northeastern Florida as the day wears on. Here's a look at our current hazards map, and you can see where our watches are right now in pink. Those are severe thunderstorm watches. We do have a tornado warning as well to the west of Columbia, severe thunderstorm warnings along our line of storms from upstate South Carolina into the eastern panhandle of Florida. I do expect we may see another severe thunderstorm watch here by late afternoon, farther north into Virginia, eastern South Carolina, North Carolina, and possibly an additional one that goes up into portions of the Northeast. But behind that system, we've got bigger problems, unfortunately, coming in the next few days. In green, you'll see we have a flash flood watch that covers pretty much the entire Ohio River Valley, the central Mississippi River Valley, and all the way back into the Arklatex region. West of that, we have wind advisories in the Central Plains. North of that, we have a winter storm watch for our next wintry bout of weather here from the Dakotas into Minnesota and northwest Wisconsin. We have red flag warnings in the Southwest. We have winter storm warnings across the interior of the West. And the busy weather just continues and continues and continues. And before we get to the severe weather, I don't want to ignore it, but yet another significant snowstorm expected in northeastern South Dakota, southeastern portions of North Dakota, central Minnesota, all the way up to the Lake Superior seashore or lake shore here, and all the way up into portions of northwestern Ontario, with the potential for more than 8 inches of snow in the heaviest bands that do affect these areas. There could also be a little bit of ice to the south of this area over portions of Wisconsin and Michigan once again. So that is, again, going to cause travel troubles and probably some power outages and some fallen branches as well. And this still could shift some. So the majority of this is going to be coming later on Tuesday night into Wednesday. And I think Wednesday, unfortunately, could be a pretty rough day. Now, we don't want to ignore what's going on here across the southeast. You will see that our enhanced risk for severe weather continues through this evening over parts of North Carolina, South Carolina, eastern Georgia, slight risk into the northeast, now including New York City and the lower Hudson Valley as well. So we've got 60 million Americans in that slight risk or greater. And of that, about 10 million, including Charlotte, Raleigh, Greensboro, Durham, Winston-Salem, Columbia, Augusta, are in that enhanced risk for severe weather. I don't think we're talking about a high tornado risk. We do see about a 5% risk, though, this afternoon, but we do see the risk for some wind damage as we head into the late afternoon and evening hours tonight, in particular from places like Roxborough, North Carolina, all the way down to eastern portions of Georgia here, just to the west of Pooler and I-95. So that's what we need to be mindful of. There could also be a little bit of hail as well, but this is primarily going to be a straight line wind event, it looks like, as we head into this late afternoon and evening hours. And the risk for the strongest winds has been trimmed down just a little bit in Virginia and in the far eastern Carolinas compared to where we were yesterday. This area was in the 30%, but it still doesn't need to be ignored. We still have that risk for severe weather. Now, as we head to tomorrow, that system moves out, but the next one begins to take shape and could bring another tornado outbreak starting later in the evening into portions of Kansas, and a threat for severe weather that extends all the way into Illinois, Iowa, and down into central Texas. You'll see there is close to a million there's an enhanced risk for close to a million Americans in Kansas, particularly in Wichita and Hutchinson, but still a 5% risk for tornadoes all the way down to the Red River, 2% risk a little bit farther east. A lot of that's going to be overnight, Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning. It's a 30% risk for severe wind. Again, in the area that's outlined by the strong tornado risk, we do have that wind threat, and a huge area that could get hit with big hail all the way down to southwest of Abilene, Texas here, and even almost into the hill country here overnight, all the way up to Kansas City, all the way up to far southern Nebraska. And the majority of the OKC area in central Oklahoma is at risk for seeing powerful hail. We could see hail, though, all the way over into southwestern Michigan and southern Wisconsin during the overnight hours. So it is going to get nasty here as we get into the nighttime hours tomorrow night. And then, unfortunately, that's just the beginning of what's going to be a major outbreak, I believe, here on Wednesday. This area is almost exactly the same place that had the enhanced risk yesterday. This time, though, I think we're talking more tornadoes than what we saw with the last outbreak. In fact, I do think an update coming in the next day or so to at least a moderate risk is certainly warranted. And in particular, I'm worried about Arkansas, Tennessee, northwestern Mississippi, southwest Kentucky, southeastern Missouri. But we could have damaging winds and a few tornadoes all the way up into Michigan once again. So unfortunately, we only get a couple days to catch our breath before this goes downhill again quickly on Wednesday. I do want to share with you here what concerns me the most about this. The machine learning models are indicating this is going to have multiple modes to it. And you can see the area that has the highest risk of tornadoes is probably going to be northwest Mississippi, southwest Tennessee, and eastern Arkansas once again. However, the chance for significant severe weather extends all the way back to northeastern Texas and all the way over to middle Tennessee and all the way up into southern Indiana. And there could be significant hail and strong winds across the Chicagoland area into northwest Indiana, even into Detroit, Toledo, and possibly Sandusky, Ohio. We may see yet another outbreak of very significant wind damage. And if you add this to what we had to deal with just yesterday, there's already things that have been weakened by the rain and by the severe wind that we had yesterday. It's just going to make it easier to get things to topple. So it's definitely something we need to be concerned with here. And I do think an upgrade to moderate risk is going to happen because I think the parameters for tornadoes are actually going to be better with this system than with the one that we had to deal with here just recently yesterday. From Tropical Tidbits, it is time for Easter. Get your loved ones some flowers. Make the place pretty. But you can see here our storm system is going to move out by tomorrow morning. We're going to see most of the rain winding down except on the Gulf Coast. But our next storm system here is actually going to be a deeper one with more wind with it and lower pressure. And things are going to get going here pretty quickly later tomorrow. We'll have snow falling from Montana into Minnesota in the afternoon. Then the storms break out from Iowa and Nebraska back into Kansas. And then it looks like it all fills in overnight with rough weather expected during the pre-dawn hours of Wednesday in places like Kansas City and maybe even getting to Tulsa and places like Denton, Texas here during the overnight hours. And then here's a look at Wednesday during the day. We're going to see multiple waves of severe weather. The first one moves up through Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan late in the morning into the early afternoon. The one that follows it could bring similar impacts. And then down here, we've got stronger wind flow aloft and increasing wind shear. So I do think we're going to be talking about some tornadoes as well later Wednesday and especially Wednesday evening as well. And unfortunately, while this front is going to get pushed eastward here into New England and into eastern Canada on Thursday, there is more southwest flow aloft and an additional disturbance that's going to hang this front up over Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Oklahoma. And rather than it continuing to advance quickly southeast like we saw with this morning's storms, it's going to get stuck and try to lift back to the north. Meaning Thursday is going to be a very ugly day with more severe weather. Friday is going to be a wet day as well. Saturday is going to be a wet day. And unfortunately, the streak may continue into Sunday across this area before things finally quiet down. So the next 7 days are unfortunately looking really bad here. Here's the NAM model just to give you all kind of the shorter term here. You can see we're going to have scattered showers and storms. Some of them could have strong winds, basically from the Hudson Valley down into Virginia. We also have to be watching things in the Carolinas here this evening. I don't know if the NAM's going to capture it very well. But the good news is that this system moves out tomorrow morning. You'll get the heavy rain, though, still across Atlantic Canada. The next one moves right in, stage left. Here it comes. And you can see by tomorrow afternoon and evening, it's getting busy. And by Wednesday, we do see yet another big regional outbreak of severe weather and a big snowstorm as well, and ice on the front end of the cold part of the system as well. I do want to talk about what's going to happen tonight here. You can see storm fuel is not super high, but it is higher around Charlotte down to Columbia. We are going to see the potential for a few tornadoes here. It is high enough to support damaging winds all the way up to New York City, eastern Pennsylvania, Baltimore, maybe Dover, Delaware. The timeline, though, likely going to be in the evening hours to see this severe weather in this region. The worst of it's going to be in the late afternoon, probably around the time this video is going online in South Carolina and Georgia. Once this moves out, though, we do see quieter weather for Tuesday, but then you see the return of moisture coming for Wednesday once again, and that storm fuel just unfortunately climbs quickly in the morning on Wednesday across Illinois, Indiana, and Western Ohio, and this looks very similar to the same areas that got hit here yesterday. Here's a look at the parameters for stronger tornadoes, and you can see they're not super high this afternoon, but high enough to support a few tornadoes, even in the southeastern Pennsylvania, but in particular across southern Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina, and maybe southeastern Georgia as well. You'll see that tornadoes probably aren't going to be a big deal later in the evening and overnight. We'll get a break tomorrow, and then as we head into Wednesday, the parameters start climbing very quickly here later in the day, maybe even later in the morning in Indiana and Illinois. Here's a look at updraft helicity. This tells us where storms may be rotating aloft. And you can see there's certainly going to be some potential for some damaging wind here about 7, 8, 9 o'clock tonight over eastern PA, northern Maryland, moving into northwest Jersey as well. Not quite as much in Virginia and North Carolina. I think we're going to see things fading somewhat here, but we'll have to see. There's still going to be some potential here around Raleigh and Lewisburg and Rocky Mount and eventually up towards Roanoke Rapids and maybe Elizabeth City as well during the overnight hours. So it's not just this evening, but even after you go to bed tonight when we could have that severe weather. I do want to take you through the shorter range forecast. You can see here around 6 o'clock tonight, Charlotte right down to Savannah. Rough weather is expected. Then moving over to the I-95 corridor around 7. And then moving off the coast of Myrtle Beach between 9 and 10 o'clock tonight. Then things should settle down overnight. I don't think we're going to see a second wave coming in behind it. I do want to take you to Florida, and then we're going to jump back to the north here real fast. Here is a look at the line of storms moving through northeast Florida, and mainly scattered showers and storms. Some of them could be locally heavy here, but this should move out. Tomorrow should be a lot quieter day for the most part here. We do have a return of some moisture, though, so Wednesday could start getting active again. Now, I want to take you to North Carolina and Virginia because we do have some storms to be alerting that we need to be on the alert for here this evening, approaching the Triad and then the Triangle, 7, 8 o'clock, Danville, Martinville, all the way up to places like Farmville and Richmond and Charlottesville and all the way up into Northern Virginia here. Between 6 and 9 o'clock tonight, I do think we could have some severe weather. There's a small chance for a tornado. There could be hail as well. And then this area is going to weaken some as it moves eastward late this evening. And then I think we're pretty much done with the severe weather overnight tonight for Virginia and North Carolina. Looking at Maryland, we're going to see some rougher storms here. It's been pretty warm today, rolling off of the mountains here into central and southern Maryland this evening, moving through the Philly area as well after about 7, 8 o'clock tonight, and moving into Delaware and South Jersey as well. Taking you up to PA here. Primarily, it's going to be south of the Lehigh Valley where we see severe weather, mainly southeastern Pennsylvania and right along the Delaware River. But heavy rain is certainly a possibility. And then I'm going to take you up into eastern New York and southern New England here. And you can see there could be some really rough storms here about 7, 8, 9 o'clock around the New York City area. And then just lingering rain for places like Boston and Providence later tonight, ending in the morning tomorrow around 8, 9 o'clock. So that is pretty much it for this storm. The next storm is the one to be, unfortunately, really watching closely here. As you can see here, the moisture returns quickly. The storm fuel climbs quickly here. And Wednesday is going to be a pretty significant day for severe weather. Thursday is going to be rough as well in some of these areas. And I'd be willing to bet that Friday and Saturday we could have additional severe weather down south. Here's a look at the significant tornado parameter for the southern United States. And you will see it starting to climb here tomorrow in Oklahoma. Now, at this point, we're going to have a cap on the environment that's going to keep this from leading to tornadoes. But in Kansas, we do see this beginning to climb here late in the evening around midnight or so, and then especially overnight. Oklahoma also has a high parameter for tornadoes, but take a look at Wednesday. You can see the areas that have been getting hit so much have a climbing risk for strong tornadoes late afternoon and evening. Arkansas, southeastern Missouri, northwest Mississippi, maybe even northwest Louisiana, northeast Texas, and this extends right up the Ohio River into Kentucky, into Indiana, maybe into Ohio as well. But this time, rather than quickly advancing southeast, we see it come to a lull, and then we see additional storm development in the same places here for Thursday afternoon. And there could be more tornadoes as we get into the day on Thursday, although I think Wednesday is going to be the worst of the 2 days. Here's a look at rainfall potential, and you'll see how quickly these numbers are going to come up here over the central portion of the country between now and Friday night. There will be a widespread area that gets more than 4 inches of rain. Some places could see 10 inches of rain, maybe even more than that in Arkansas, Tennessee, and Kentucky here. And we need to be definitely mindful of the threat for flash flooding. The Weather Prediction Center has moderate risks for flooding on Wednesday, eastern Arkansas into southwest Indiana, Thursday, southern Arkansas into southwest Ohio, and then shifting back to the left on Friday, getting eastern Oklahoma, northern Arkansas, and the Ozarks area of Missouri. And unfortunately, there are several areas that are under the gun here for 3 straight days, April 2nd through 4th. And honestly, I think April 5th could be pretty wet in here, maybe even April 6th across some of the same locations. This could be a 4 or 5 day flood. Now, real quick, I want to show you how things are going to evolve in Kansas tomorrow evening here. You could see we're going to have some nasties here in the evening hours, eventually spreading south and eastward here, and then moving out by early in the day on Wednesday. Looking at Oklahoma a little bit farther south, we're going to be capped for a while, but then we are going to see a line of storms that could produce some tornadoes, some hail, all the way into North Texas here by daybreak on Wednesday. I'll take you over to Arkansas here. We are going to lose this model, though, once we get past early in the afternoon on Wednesday. But you can see in Arkansas, pretty quiet until we get into the morning hours on Wednesday. Then heavier showers and storms are going to move in. As this lifts north and east, we need to be watching this area in here for potentially strong to maybe violent tornadoes later in the afternoon. I would say places like Jonesboro, Craighead County, maybe Conway, Searcy, Arkansas, all the way up into southern Missouri we need to watch. And then all that's going to move east and southeast during the evening hours on Wednesday night. So that is all I've got for this storm. I do want to show you the slight risk area extends from Dallas all the way up to Pittsburgh and Charleston, West Virginia for Thursday. Right now, the Storm Prediction Center does not have anything outlined for Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, but our machine learning models do show that potential still for severe weather. This is Thursday and Thursday night, centered on Arkansas, but a large area under the gun for potential severe weather. And then as we go on into Friday, we do see that North Texas and the South Central states are again under the gun. Even the Carolinas and Virginia have the risk for a little bit of severe weather for Friday. Here is a look at Saturday, and it's like it didn't move at all. In fact, it gets worse for Mississippi and southeastern Arkansas. And then here's a look at Sunday, and we finally start to see some things getting pushed eastward here. The southeast could have some weather similar to what we're dealing with today. So that's all I've got for you all, but I hope everybody stays safe and takes the warnings that are coming your way seriously. I do want to wrap this up with a quick word of encouragement. I give God all the honor and glory. I'm a Christian man, and I know that people who come here for a weather forecast maybe aren't expecting to hear the word of God, but every day I read the Bible, and every day I'm reminded of how wonderful God is. Paul tells the church of Rome in Romans 8:28, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. And the Lord is good for those that choose to believe and choose to follow him. He has given his son Jesus to die on the cross so that we can live eternally and have the sinful nature, the sins that we have had in our life, basically be wiped clean, and then that perfect life in heaven waiting for us. God has a purpose for each and every one of you, whether or not you choose to believe in him. But the good news is that everybody who comes here has a gift. You all have been given many blessings. I hope you see that. I hope you understand that there's a lot of good out there. It's really hard to see past the bad and the evil. I understand that. Trust me, I do. I come from a family that's not always optimistic when it comes to that worldview. But the good news is that the love of God allows us to have some peace and understand that good things are coming eternally. And that is the good news that I wanted to share with everybody today, because I just think there's just so much darkness out there in the world. The enemy wants to take grab of everybody. He wants us to believe that there is nothing good out there. But God reminds us every day that, in fact, he is good every day. God is good. And I wanted you to rejoice in that news today. So I will be back tomorrow. I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. Please be safe, and we'll catch you soon. God bless you.